everyone, Sage is here. So, as you can probably tell by the title and maybe description, this one's actually going to be about how to play Fire Emblem Heroes on your PC. We've had our sponsorship with Nox for a little bit now, and, well, yeah, I figured it would take a little bit of effort, to kind of, consolidate things because, well, people have told me I've had issues, I can't find heroes on the storefront, I can't do this. How do you get, heroes to run on your computer, which is what we're going to be focusing on here. So for those who aren't familiar, we've had Nox for a bit. We've been using it from, video to video, and basically it's an Android emulation software that lets you play games, do all sorts of apps like you would on an Android phone or tablet, nothing too crazy there. It's a really nice program, I think, myself, not just because I'm being sponsored by it, but I've been using it before for things like Yokai Watch Wibble Wobble, and even, one of the old Final Fantasy Record Keeper. Like, that's one of the games I used to play on it a lot. Don't play it much anymore, but still, you get the general idea. So, I figured I would take you through how I set up, at least for Heroes, as well as maybe other apps in case you want to know how I've been doing it. Mostly in line with how me and Christy have been doing a lot of those, Japanese or, Korean games. So, first off and foremost, what you're going to need are three things. One, a computer, or Mac, it also works on Mac. Two, internet, and three, the Nox app. And of course, here's the website itself. It's pretty obvious where you download it. It's completely safe, don't worry about anything. It's a great program. All you have to do, install it, download it, all that fun stuff. Maybe not in that order. Maybe do it, download, then install. Just follow the on-screen prompts, and then eventually it will load in to Nox. And from there, we're going to switch over to our Nox screen, and I'm going to walk you through what I use to get Fire Emblem Heroes running, as well as a few other apps. So, let's just hop on over. Alright, here we are on Nox's homepage, which if you are familiar with any Android device, you are, well, pretty much at home here. And if you're not, well, welcome to Android. It's pretty simplistic, nothing too crazy. But anyways, the beauty of Nox, of course, is that we actually already have some sort of settings that we can just make adjustments to, do all sorts of things like that. And, well, if you ever have any problems with performance or you want it to be more like a phone app or, instead of a tablet, then you can just do that here. But just a fair warning, if the app you're running is already something that's, more made for phone, it will switch over automatically, so don't worry. And graphics rendering modes and performance are mostly in case you need to adjust it to make it a little bit more smoother. And you can also change your frame rate, just be careful with all of this. It doesn't necessarily mean it will run better, it just means that you might want to tinker with these in case you do need something. You can also, of course, adjust shortcuts and interface, but mostly we're going to be talking about something here called rooting, and that is because, well, the beauty of APK files, guys, and that is because, well, I'm just going to say this right here. This right here this is Heroes. This is Fire Emblem Heroes, of course, if you're familiar with that. Here is me looking, apparently I came already prepared. Not like I did several takes of this before, but here I am looking up Fire Emblem Heroes on the Google Play Store, and as you can see, it's kind of nowhere to be found. Oh boy, there's Sword Art Online, my favorite, but it's instead suggesting similar apps, which, by the way, I mean, Tactics is a great game, and there's a rip-off of Miitomo, but there's no Fire Emblem Heroes, and that's a bit of a problem. And, well, thankfully, Nox has a solution to this, and I also have a solution in case you don't want to just constantly drag the same APK file in. So APK files are basically the app or the game that you're trying to, play in a folder kind of format that basically allows you to bring them over to, other devices. This is for like phones that may not be able to do it or things like that. And basically, you can just use these to install these apps on your phone in case the Play Store doesn't work, or you might, be having problems with it. So instead, you could use something like Easy File Explorer, or with Nox, here's an app I've already gotten. This is an APK file for QApp, which is something that me and Christy have been using for quite some time. And all you have to do is just simply, at least with Nox, is drag it over, but there's going to be an error message that pops up here, just so we're clear, and that's actually because I do not have root turned on. And rooting your phone or your device is what you are required to do when it comes to using Nox. But be careful, we're going to go over that in a second. I'm going to set root on, and then we'll be right back, and, well, we'll go over that, okay? Hey, nerds! So, we're back. I've rooted the device. I've also deleted QApp because, well, we're going to be installing that anyways. And here it is in the folder, and all we do is drag and drop. And from there, we just click on the whole open an APK file there, and it should load up all of our previous directories, hopefully with QApp in there. You can kind of see that we already have a bunch of other apps here, but there's the one I'm looking for, and you just click on that, click next, 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 and install. And it's pretty simple. That was just from an APK file, and then you can, of course, launch the app itself, and it should update if there are any updates, and hopefully it won't need anything from the Google Store if you do. But that's where QApp comes in. I'm going to say QApp a lot. I'm not going to open it just yet because, well, if I do that, you're going to see a whole mess of things here. So, for those who want to know how I've done Heroes here at least, I'm going to explain this in the simplest form, and that is, of course, using our newly installed app there. So, I'm just going to open this up, I'm going to click on it, but I'm going to have to change the screen again, so we're going to be taking a brief snippet over to the new screen. So, see you guys in a second. And we're back, and this is QApp. This is going to be what the main screen is when you first log into this, or at least boot it up. And it might say, oh, you should log in. Just ignore that for now, and instead click over on the top left to the little mustachioed man there, and you're going to see a lot of different languages, a lot of different, weird things, but mostly what we're going to want to do is click on the search bar and go to Fire Emblem Heroes, and hopefully I can spell that correctly. I might not have, but still, here we are, Fire Emblem Heroes. You just click on this, and from here you can just install it. Right now it shows open, but for me it's going to display install. And, well, this is the simplest way that I've found to install it on Nox, because they update it extensively. Not only that, if there's ever a title update, for those who don't know what a title update is, that is when the app needs to go back to the Google Store because the version is much newer and it has improved features, and they altered the code in such a way that you need to update the app from the Google Store itself, not from the app itself. So occasionally, if that ever happens, you won't be able to install the update from the store itself, especially on Nox or any other emulation device. So instead, just wait for QApp to update. It will have the new version title update, and you can re-download it there. It's simple, it's easy to use, it's no problem. Not only that, but they recently just added the whole, Japanese text, English text instead of the Japanese text, which is great. It's a lot nicer. And for those who are worried, but it's in Japanese, right? Don't worry, Fire Emblem Heroes, wherever you get it, based on your region, based on your phone, it will load that language first off, and also that region. So, don't have any concerns about that, don't worry. Don't freak out, it's fine, you're good. Just don't worry. Alright, so pretty much we've gone over that, and I'm going to go over getting Fire Emblem Heroes to actually work on your PC a bit more, as well as other apps, and I'm going to give you a bit more of an idea about what you need to look out for when it comes to running this device. Well, virtual device, I guess. So let's head over back to the main screen, and I will talk to you guys a bit more real quick. Alright, so before we begin looking at Fire Emblem Heroes, or, well, any app in general, I do have to say that as a setting, usually for me, there's also a reason why I installed QApp, and that's mostly because I want to get rid of having root as an option on, because rooting your device, more often than not, at least when it comes to me, tends to have ramifications with other apps and things like that. They tend to error out, they tend to be shadow banned, which is a different type of thing. Typically, if you've played Heroes at all, at least on an emulation, you may have run into an error, and oftentimes the instant way for me to do that is to keep rooting on. So once you've installed an app, once you've done something like that, turn rooting off. It tends to help out immensely, and if you can go through the Play Store without having to turn rooting on, that is great. So I'm just going to turn that off real quick, and then I'm going to switch over to Fire Emblem Heroes, and, well, we'll go from there. Hi guys, here we are over on Fire Emblem Heroes on Nox, and as you can see, it runs perfectly, and I've had no issues at all. Unfortunately, the one time I try to force the error to pop up, it doesn't happen, which is a bit of an issue in its own right, but, you know, that's just how it goes when I try to make this tutorial. Still, nonetheless, I guess I'll just talk about this real quick. So there are 2 issues and 2 limiting factors when it comes to emulation, and that is when I go to try to click and add any sort of orbs on here, I'm fairly sure it's going to error out and tell me I can't do that. Or that there will be an issue and you won't be able to buy orbs. It's actually lagging quite a bit here, and that's usually a sure sign that it's actually going to error out when it comes to buying orbs. That's one of the issues I found with Nox, at least when it comes to this, is that you can't necessarily buy orbs. So if you're going to do this, potentially do it on your phone if you happen to have a phone and do that. You can summon as long as you're, you know, on Nox, as long as you have an Android device that you're using to buy the orbs. It won't work if it's on iTunes or whatnot. Fortunately, it seems like this is lagging out a bit. That's one of the errors I found with this. There's also, of course, a few other problems, and those are, well, some people have realized when you start it up, at least when it comes to the game, and occasionally, even when you're in-game. I've never really experienced it in-game, except for maybe one time, and that was oddly enough during a recording, where it will kick you out with an error code. It usually starts with an 8, I forget the whole error code, but you'll end up back on the main page, and it will continuously hit you back to where you need to be. I'm going to restart this real quick, and hopefully we can do a bit, and I can just show you what's going on in the game, because apparently that orb thing still a problem. Alright, here we are back again on the main page of... Oh boy, that's the one problem that I has. When it first starts loading up, there's a little bit of a sound glitch. It's the only thing I've really ever experienced when it comes down to playing this game on Nox. That and the whole orb issue. But there are people who have mentioned that occasionally, and of course when I try to force it, I've loaded this into root mode as well. No problem there, but occasionally, guess just my luck. But maybe I can get it if I just like load up a story or, you know, training tower. I just, because I'm in rooted mode right now, I'm trying to force it, but we'll see how well that goes. Be my luck. I'm just gonna try and go into something and see what happens. But I mean, it runs pretty decently. Nothing's no problems, nothing. I'm just gonna set it to auto battle. But anyways, I guess we'll just talk about this real quick. So if you happen to end up getting disconnected with an error message while playing Nox, or, well, any emulation software out there, you may have noticed that when you try to reload it, that it continuously has this error message. And, well, the only solutions that I can think of are, well, there's 2 that are really technical, and there's one that's really not technical. I will include the links to those in the description, the technical one at least, that will get rid of the error, hopefully, completely for you. Or you can do the one that I usually do because it really doesn't cost you much. It's pretty simple to do, and that is, well, you just delete the app and then you go back into lon'qu app and download it again. And after that, you're completely fine. If you load it into rooted mode and you ended up getting, you know, kicked out like I have countless times when I did have it in rooted mode, then just do that. It's simple, it's easy to work with, and usually, as I've said, if you're running this in the root mode, then a lot of other apps tend to have problems with it as well, so I highly suggest avoiding that. And if you happen to get it at all while you're playing this game here on the you know, emulator yourself, well, there you go. You just delete it, re-download it, or possibly use any of the suggestions in the description. It's simple enough as is. At least for me, I find deleting the app is pretty simple. They're small enough size-wise, although you will, if you have quite a lot done, you probably will have to download quite a bit from the game itself when you get to it. There's also been the question of, well, it's against the terms of service, I'm scared I might get banned. Don't be too frightful of that, don't be too scared. As long as you're not explicitly, like, trying to hack into the game, change, you know, data, like put in characters you have, or make clones of characters like you shouldn't, like for some reason you have an Alphonse plus 10, which is naughty naughty. Don't do that. Just try to play the game as you would normally. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it. But, of course, you can't... I wonder if I can actually purchase orbs now. It's probably going to load into that infinite nothingness. That's the only problem I've had so far. I've never, experienced anything outside of that. You can play the game just as you would before. That's the only issue I've had so far, is the orb glitch. And occasionally, maybe that, error. But, again, haven't experienced that error outside of that one time. Honestly, I really enjoy Nox. I've played it before. I've used it before. It's a great program. I highly suggest it if you decide to try playing this on the PC. It's a great system. I highly suggest it, guys. Check it out in the description. This is just how I go about playing it on my own when it comes to playing it on the PC. And I hope this has been helpful in some ways. If not, well, I mean, hopefully it has more than anything. And that's pretty much all I gotta say, guys. I'm gonna let this try to load and see what happens. I'm kind of scared, but just don't touch the orbs, trying to add any orbs. If you earn them normally, you can of course go through with that. And if you want to run any other app on this, chances are you can. It'll work just fine. So that's pretty much all I got to show for it when it comes to running this on a PC. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, leave a like. If you didn't, well, okay. No problem. See you guys soon. Thanks for watching.